All right. We should be live. I should be there. You should be able to hear me if everything goes according to plan, which doesn't always work like that, but we'll try. Let me just set up everything that I need for the stream. I mean, I already did, but like there's the YouTube stream stuff that I need to grab. Otherwise, we're fucking it up. We don't know. We don't want to do that. Oh, hell no. Alright, so hope everyone has had a lovely week so far. It's Thursday, which means that I'm live in the evening here in the Netherlands, but I mean it's afternoon in the US. Let me just grab the Twitch chat along with the rest because, yeah, we know I'm notoriously bad at keeping track of Twitch. But for the people that watch me on there, hi, hello, nice to meet you. I'm weird, and most of you already know that. So, yeah, okay, I guess we're here. Hello, everyone. Happy to see all of you join. And come in very slowly. I messed up, guys. I messed up. I went to Peru and I came back and I had this weird like stomach bug thing. Do not recommend. I probably caught that on the way home, and yeah, didn't feel great for a while. So I'm behind when it comes to the stream schedule, because I was supposed to like talk about how Peru was a few days after I arrived back home, and I did that a week later, which means that I'm behind on the schedule because we still need to talk about the archaeological discoveries from February. It's mid-March. So yeah, y'all are allowed to like be disappointed in me and mad, and I can accept that. Thank you so much for the super chat, Brent. Very nice of you. Very, very kind. All right, so we have a live scene, and it's black. Oh no, Clee, you messed up. I know, it's fine. There we go, fixed it. Ta-da! Let's just put that on the TikToks a little bit better. Look at that. I'm slowly over time, I will be less of an idiot when it comes to these things. But honestly, ever so slowly. Like, don't have high hopes. I will still completely suck at streaming. It's fine. Did I eat guinea pig? No, I did not eat the guinea pig in Peru. I also did not eat alpaca in Peru. Our Canadian friend did both of those things. He had an alpaca hamburger. He said it was okay, like it was good, but the meat wasn't as tender as like beef. It was a little bit more weird. He had no idea to like fully explain it, I think. And guinea pig, yeah, he said it wasn't bad, but I didn't feel like trying. I know, it's very bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, now that everyone has dropped in a little bit, I want to make two small announcements. Two. So the first, you can see on screen, we are doing an Ancient Wonders of Anatolia tour in Turkey. It's 10 days long. You will see most of the Taştepeler sites like Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Sefer Tepe, Sayburç. We're going to try and see Harbetsuvan Tepe and maybe Çakmak Tepe, but I mean, there's a small chance that we'll make it work, but at least we will try. We will also see Haran, the Bazda caves, the ancient city of Shuaib, Sogmatar. We're doing a boat tour on the Euphrates. We're going to Cappadocia, and you can see the fairy chimneys, and it's absolutely glorious. We will also go to the underground city of Derinkuyu, and the end of the tour will happen at the ancient capital of the Hittites, Hattusha. Oh, and we're also going to climb a mountain Mount Nemrut to see like that tumulus on top of the mountain. So I highly recommend joining, because this year we are being joined by Pete from History Time. So if you do not know who History Time is, History Time YouTube, I will show. I mean, I will fix this if you don't know who that is. I mean, chances are that you do know who History Time is, and you are way more familiar with his work than you are with mine, because my channel is like, he has more than 1 million subscribers than me. So I would expect all of you to know him a lot better than you know me. And if you know his work, then you will know that he went to Turkey in, I think it was 2022. He went to Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. He's made documentaries on both. And you can now join us on this tour and see these ancient sites with not only him by your side, but me as well. So, if you are interested or you want more tour info, go to thecommunitygarden.org/tours and then /p/ancient Anatolia. But that's a lot of slashes. So, and that's why I needed to grab the YouTubes. It's in the chat now. Look at that. Pin message. Hey, slowly, very slowly, I will be better at doing YouTubes. Also, let me heart this, and oh my god, thank you so much, Mr. Jono, for the super chat. It's really kind of you. Really happy with that. Thank you. So that's one of the announcements. The second announcement is that next week I will have 2 live streams. So we will have our regular live stream on Thursday, same time as now. What we're going to do next week, probably not sure. I might pick a subject, or we might just hang out, play games, answer some questions, do fun stuff. But on Friday next week, History Time Pete, Dakota from Dakota of Earth, and I will do a big live stream with the 3 of us on Friday, same time as we are doing the normal streams on Thursday, and the 3 of us are going to tell you all about what we're going to do in Turkey, what we're going to see. We're going to talk all about the tour and the experiences that all of us have already had while being and traveling through Turkey. And I thought that would just be a lot of fun to share that with you guys. So yeah, sound is low. Sound is low. Is my sound low? I barely... Hi, is this better? Because I don't want to, like, scream. But I also don't want any of you guys to, like, blow your frickin' speakers. So, hope that's better. And if not, then my sincerest apologies, but then this is just gonna be it. Thank you so much for the super chat, Jim Ross. Let me just give you a hot as well. Oh, I can do a like too. Oh my god. I don't know how any of this works here on the computer. It's fine. I never do this. It's whatever. Okay, let's grab TikTok chat, Twitch chat. No one's talking there because no one barely ever follows me on either TikTok or Twitch, and it's fine. When do we get another video? I filmed yesterday. So, the video that's coming out has a sponsorship integrated within it. And so I am waiting on the sponsor to approve said sponsorship, and then the video can go live. I'm expecting it to go live between tomorrow and Monday, because the deadline for the sponsorship was Monday. So worst case, it comes on Monday. Best case, it's there tomorrow. So, new video, there will be stuff on the channel. Will you go to the underground city in Turkey as well? Yes. So that is they call it the Kaymakli underground city, but it's just Derinkuyu or Kaymakli. It's the same thing. Potato. So here you can see this stuff. This is the stuff we're going to see, people. So it's really crazy because the underground city goes, it's like 20 stories deep. But nowadays, in modern times, we're not allowed to go that deep because they cannot ensure our safety if you go that deep, because, you know, they just can't. So you can go 4 stories deep, which is around, I think, 60 meters deep underground, 4 levels. 60 meters, how much is that in feet? How? I don't want to do an I. How much? Okay, no. 60 m2 feet. Much easier. 60 meters is a little under 200 feet deep. So 4 levels. That's really, really awesome. I've done it twice now, and I posted a video last year when I was there. It's here in the shorts. Of me, yeah. My claustrophobia kicks in when I go into the underground city, because, yeah, like I said, it's almost 200 feet deep, like 60 meters. And that's really crazy, and my mind just, you know, doesn't like being, I don't know, my claustrophobia kicks in, I don't like it, but I still go in. I went to the 4th level both times in the 2 times that I went there. And yes, in September I will have to do it again. So that's just, you know, it's an experience that I do feel like you need to have when you go there. Like, why else go there? In a way. Doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's how my brain works. So, and you know, worst case, I get a little bit of a panic attack, but you can just hang out. Once I've gone through the deepest part that you can enter, y'all can just hang out there, and I'll be like, you know what? Been here, done that. I'm gonna make my way out. And that's what I do. So, okay. But besides that, here you can see like day 1, it's the fish lake in Shanlurfa, and we go to the museums. It's really awesome. Look at this. You can stand there. You can actually stand there. Day 3, we're going to Göbekli Tepe and Sayburç. Day 4, we go to Haran, and I think the Bazda caves are part of this day, and I think also Şuayb. And day 5, beautiful boat tour on the Euphrates River. Just a chill moment because you've already seen so many things and it's a lot to take in. So a relaxed boat tour day, definitely highly recommend to like break the tour in the middle. 200 feet would be a 20-story high building. Yeah, I was confused. 60 meters to feet. Yeah, it's saying almost 200 feet. I don't know. Yeah, no, seriously. Oh well. Back to where we were. We were here. Day 6, we go to Karahan Tepe, and I think that is also the day for, was it Sefer Tepe or not? Sokmatar. See? Sokmatar. That was it. And then Mount Nemrut on day 7. Then we go to Cappadocia, and you can see the fairy chimneys and the underground city. And then on the last day, we go and see the ancient Hittite capital of Hattusha. It's beautiful. I love it. On day 10, you just fly back home. So, yeah. The hotels that we're staying at are beautiful, luxurious, and highly recommend you come. So, link is in the chat. Awesomes. All right, now back to the actual subject of today. And that is archaeological discoveries from the month of February of 2026. Because I'm a little bit late. So, yeah, again, my apologies, my sincerest apologies. All right. So, the first discovery that we have, I mean, here they say January 30th, but other ones reported on it way later, so I thought, why not? We'll go through this one real quick. So an ancient Briuni burial site reveals 3,000 years of human presence. Archaeological research at Vrkošer, I have no idea how to pronounce that, but at least it was in Croatia, a national park, has been successfully completed, uncovering compelling evidence of human presence spanning several millennia. We like that. We like when things span several millennia. The extensive research project was carried out by experts from the Department of Archaeology at the Faculty of Humanities, University of Duraž Dobrila in Pula, in close cooperation with Briuni National Park. The aim was to systematically study and better understand the cultural heritage and long history of one of the park's most significant archaeological sites. At the center of the investigation was a Bronze Age tumulus, another one of those burial mounds that I just spoke about that we are going to see in Turkey, on top of a mountain, but here it's in a national park, so a tumulus, a stone burial mound, constructed more than 3,000 years ago. Excavations began in spring of 2024 with fieldwork conducted between March and April. During this phase, archaeologists made a significant discovery, a complete human skeleton buried within the mound. We like it when we actually find remains inside of a burial mound. Because that's why they built it. Duh. So, radiocarbon dating analysis dated the remains to the first half of the 14th century, placing the burial in the late Middle Ages. So that's a little bit younger. This means the individual was interred approximately 3 millennia after the tumulus was originally built. So the burial mound was created 3,000 years ago, but the body that they found inside dates back to the first half of the 14th century. So yeah, that's a little bit later. A lot later. Oh, hey, Smokes! Yellow, on the TikToks. Welcome. So such practices where burials are placed into much older structures are known in archaeology as secondary burials. To complete the research and examine whether additional remains were present beneath the stone construction, the archaeological team returned to the site in March of 2025. Alongside the previously discovered skeleton, researchers uncovered a separate human jaw on the opposite side of the tumulus, as well as a large number of small bone fragments. Detailed analysis revealed that the remains belonged to multiple individuals. The total number of recovered teeth exceeded 50, clearly indicating several secondary burials and pointing to a complex and prolonged history of burial activity at the site. So that's nice. So here you can see a little bit of a schematic of that burial mound, the burial chamber, all that fun stuff. The work at Vrkošer has demonstrated the importance of meticulous and methodical archaeological research. Each find contributes to a broader understanding of the historical development of the Briuni Islands, revealing layers of human activity and burial customs stretching from prehistoric times through the medieval period. And here you can see that, a 3D scan of the tumulus, I think. Hi, Smokes. So, Smokes, we are talking about new archaeological discoveries, and we've actually just started. This is the first article that we are reading out loud at this point. So here you can see that 3D scan of the tumulus. With the completion of this research, Briuni National Park has once again highlighted the value of systematic archaeological study in preserving and interpreting Croatia's cultural heritage. The park expressed its gratitude to all experts, collaborators, and partners involved and confirmed its ongoing commitment to the protection, presentation, and interpretation of archaeological sites for both visitors and the scientific community. So, thumbs up to Croatia. Very happy with that. Very good work. Very, very good work. Okay, that's the first article done. Hell yeah. So, we've got a list to go. So, all right, let's just get rid of that. That's unnecessary. Okay. A 5,000-year-old inscription reveals the terrifying brutality of ancient Egypt's colonial expansion into Sinai. You know, the desert, the Sinai desert. I think everyone would know that. Oh, yeah, okay. So, again, this article dates from the 30th of January, but again, I didn't cover it in my January discoveries. And also, most of the other articles were written on the 1st of March about this, but this was the better article. Like, it had more information, so therefore, I went with this one. So 5,000 years ago, the silence of the Sinai Desert was broken by the sound of stone striking stone. In a remote dry riverbed known as Wadi Kamila, an artist or perhaps a soldier carved a terrifying scene into a sandstone cliff. The image is stark. Wow, I can't read. Okay, so rewind. The image is stark. A towering man stands with his arms raised in a jubilating V shape, a gesture of absolute triumph. Before him kneels a smaller figure, arms bound behind his back, an arrow protruding from his chest. It's a snapshot of one of the earliest colonial conquests in human history. So that's the little bit that you see here on the left. For millennia, this brutal tableau remained hidden in the heat and dust of the southwest Sinai, approximately 35 kilometers east of the Gulf of Suez. Now, a new survey by Archaeological... Wow, I really can't speak. Guys, the fudge is wrong with me. Yo, wake up. Please. Okay, sorry. Now, a new survey by archaeologist Mustafa Nur el-Din and Egyptologist Ludwig Morenz has brought it to light, offering a rare and chilling glimpse into the violent origins of the pharaonic state. Very nice, very nice. The discovery began with a survey in early 2025 by Mustafa Nur el-Din of the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. While Wadi Kamila was previously known for Nabatean inscriptions dating to a much later area, el-Din spotted something far older on a prominent rock panel. The scene, he found, shows in a terrifying manner how the Egyptians colonized the Sinai and subjugated the inhabitants, according to a statement by the research team. The composition is visually dominated by the striding, triumphant man. He wears a simple loincloth and no headgear, yet his posture speaks authority. The figure kneeling before him represents the local Sinai population, nomadic groups who, at the time, lacked the centralized government and writing systems of their powerful neighbor to the west. This specific iconography of subjugation, a bound captive struck by a weapon, has deep roots in Egyptian state ideology. It parallels famous early dynastic scenes like those at Gebel Sheikh Suleiman, where pharaonic power was brutally advertised to the Nubians in the south. Awesome. Where's my mind at? Everywhere and nowhere at once. It's, I had my injection today, and usually on injection day, my mind is just foggy as fuck. So yeah, I can't help it. My apologies. But usually my streams aren't really streamlined, pun intended. But today it's worse. It's way worse. So yeah, this goes on for a long time. Do we want to read out the whole thing? Probably. I know. I'm already hearing all of you think, yes, you guys want that. So it's fine. Here in the Sinai, the message was identical: resist and you will be crushed. The researchers note that this rock panel certainly represents one of the earliest depictions of dominance in another territory. Wow, I really can't speak. Wow. The fudge is wrong with me. It suggests that the unification of Egypt didn't just happen along the Nile, it was forged through the violent extraction of resources from its periphery. Okay. Okay. Again. We can do this. We can do this. What drove the Egyptians to march across the burning sands of the Sinai? It wasn't just a desire for land, it was a hunger for mineral resources, especially copper and turquoise, according to the archaeologists. The inscription found alongside the violent imagery provides the religious justification for this resource grab. Though weathered and difficult to decipher, the hieroglyphs appear to identify the patron of this expedition. The inscription is likely to announce Egyptian dominance under the patronage of Min, explains Professor Ludwig Morenz of the University of Bonn. The text reads something I can't read, but it translated, it means God Min, ruler of copper ore, the mining region. This is a crucial detail. In the Proto and early dynastic periods, the god Min was not only the deity for fertility, reproduction, and male sexual potency, he was the divine protector of the Egyptians in areas beyond the Nile Valley. He was the god of the dangerous frontier, the patron saint of prospectors and conquerors, and by carving Min's name and title into the rock, the Egyptians were sacralizing the landscape, claiming the copper-rich earth of the Sinai as the property of their gods and their king. Very nice. Min is famously depicted as ichthyphallic with an erect phallus. I mean, this is the thing. I can't really show that anymore on YouTube without everything being just bombarded with demonetization. I made a video called The Dawn of Humanity, and it's completely demonetized, and it's being completely suppressed after it already went kind of sort of like it had like flukes of going semi-viral for like 3 years, and on the third year, while it was going actually kind of viral, YouTube decided to demonetize, suppress, and just kill off that video. So therefore I have never again spoken about the phallic depictions of ancient times. But when I'm on tour and I see something that's shaped like a DICK, I will definitely tell you that it is shaped like that. And I will make funny, childish jokes, because what else did you expect from me? Come on, people. Come on, people. So, while later interpretations focused on agricultural fertility in this early colonial context, his image represented the raw masculine potency of the pharaoh. By carving Min into the rocks of Wadi Kamila, the Egyptians were projecting a message of aggressive generation and dominance, essentially saying the king's power extends this far. As Morenz and Noor el-Din write, this transforms the rock panel into a kind of visual propaganda, asserting an Egyptian cultural identity in a socio-cultural periphery. So, yeah, very nice. As the Egyptian state settled into the stable Old Kingdom, its administration became more specialized. They didn't just need a god of power, they needed a god of the border. So, thus enter Subdu. Subdu's name, written with a sharp triangle or thorn, translates to the sharp one, or sharp of teeth. Unlike Min, who was a general god of the desert, Subdu was specifically the lord of the east. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Wadi Kamila panel is what is missing. Behind the triumphant figure floats the outline of a boat. In ancient Egyptian iconography, the boat was a potent symbol of the ruler. It represented the state's ability to project power and transport heavy resources across vast distances. However, the specific identity of the king who commissioned this violence remains a mystery. The researchers noticed that a presumed name inscription above the boat has been deliberately erased. History is often a palimpsest, a manuscript written over and over and over again. This rock face is no exception. The 5,000-year-old scene was not treated with reverence by later visitors. The panel features multiple overwritings, including much later Nabatean scripts and Black Arabic graffiti. This layering of history shows that while the specific political claim of that early pharaoh may have been erased or forgotten, the location remained a vital waypoint for travelers. The prominent location in the landscape and the smooth surface of the rock invited generation after generation to leave their mark. If you don't really know much about palimpsests, There's a very famous palimpsest in Egypt. I mean, I shouldn't be, this should not be hard to, yes, here we go. So this is one of the most famous palimpsests in Egypt. People think this is a helicopter and this is a plane or this is a submarine or whatever they call it. It's not. These are two different sets of hieroglyphs, as you can see here in the explanation, but it's very blurry and that's fine. You can see it well enough, I think. But here you can see how that eventually resulted in a helicopter and plane thingy. It's fine. It's, oh, this is AI. That's bullshit. Ugh. AI. We don't do AI. No, we don't. All right, so palimpsests. This is the most famous one from Egypt. But yeah, here we have another one. And oh, this goes. Oh, thank God. I was like, is this going on for like at least 30 more minutes? But no, thanks. The dawn of the paleo-colonialism. So this discovery fundamentally shifts our understanding of the region. Until now, Wadi Kamila has only been mentioned in research in connection with Nabatean inscriptions that are around 3,000 years younger, says Morens. The presence of this panel proves that the Egyptian state's colonial network was far more extensive than previously thought. It links Wadi Kamila with other known sites of Egyptian imperialism in the Sinai, such as Wadi Amera and Wadi Magara. The researchers describe this as paleo-colonialism, an early form of imperialism where the motivation was not simply an abstract expansion of territory, but a targeted effort to secure the raw materials necessary for the growing of the Egyptian state. The violence depicted in the rock art served as a propaganda tool to terrorize the local nomadic population and secure the supply lines for the copper that would forge Egyptian tools and weapons. As the study authors conclude, this rock picture announces the Egyptians' colonial claims 5,000 years ago. The team plans to return to the desert. Research has just begun, they write, and we are planning for a first bigger campaign to find more evidence of this ancient struggle for the Sinai. Very lovely. So here again, this is the inscription. Here you can see at least the lines. That does make it a little bit easier to, see, notice, all that stuff. So that's cool. Here you have that triumphant man, and here we have his victim. Really cool. Really cool. Awesome Egyptians doing awesome things once again, because, they never did any awesome things, ever. Like, ever. No, I'm just joking. Alright, so, second article done. Look at us, half hour on the way in the live stream. We've already done 2 of the way too many articles. Continue. Alright, next. First ever find of Pleistocene sewing discovered in an Oregon cave. And I thought this was really cool because I recently spoke a little bit about, ancient stuff in Oregon. And I also made a video last year about when humans first arrived into the Americas. Fun topics. I love this stuff. But, yeah. Earliest known example of possible clothing found among the perishable items preserved for more than 12,000 years in caves in Oregon. So, oh my god, dinosaurs could sew? Exactly! No, but like Pleistocene doesn't necessarily mean dinosaur. Pleistocene is the time period. So, first you had the Pleistocene. We are currently living in the Holocene. Not everyone agrees with it. Some people say that we are no longer living in the Holocene. But Pleistocene, Holocene. Why? Ew, AI. Huh? No, sorry. We're gonna have to do that a little bit differently, because we don't do AI here on this channel. Okay, ew. Pleistocene. Pleistocene. It started almost 2.6 million years ago, and it ended when the Holocene started around 11,700 years ago. So it's an epoch. It's a time period of the planet. During the Pleistocene, the dinosaurs had already gone extinct by some 61 point something million years? Or was it 63? I don't know. 66 million plus minus nearly 3, 63 point a little bit million years ago. That's fine. Pleistocene. Pleistocene's cool. So Stone Age. Let's just, probably easier to do it like that. So, this is the textile, as you can see on the picture. I think, yeah, okay. It also shows up on the TikToks. Look at us. I'm almost a real streamer now. 2 small pieces of hide connected by cord found with other perishable items preserved for about 12,400 years in the Cougar Mountain Cave rock shelter in Oregon may be the earliest known specimen of sewing found to date, researchers suggest. We like. You can't hear me. You can't hear. Is anyone else having issues before I continue? But is anyone else having issues with my sound? Let me know in all the chats that you use, please. Anyone having issues? Okay, so, all right. Roberto 1055, this seems to be a you issue. So, if you can't hear me, you probably need to like fix the audio on your device. Because everyone else is able to hear me, so it's not me. Look at me! Not fucking up my stream. Awesome. Okay, so let's continue with this article because I am very excited. So if this is the earliest known specimen of sewing found to date, I'm not sure if they mean in the United States of America, in North America, in the continents of both Americas, or the entire world. I'm not sure. But if so, this is the first remnant of actual clothing ever found from the late Pleistocene, a time where modern humans spread into the freezing lands of the North. Okay? The whiff of prehistoric tailoring and a relatively large number of other perishable items from the late Pleistocene unearthed in the Cougar Mountain and nearby Paisley Caves in Oregon, where evidence goes back to more than 14,000 years, were reported Wednesday in Science's Advances by Richard Rosenkrantz of the University of Nevada, Caitlin McDonough of the University of Oregon, and an international team of colleagues. We like an international team of colleagues. Thank you so much for the crown. That's really nice. Look at me being sent crowns and everything. I'm dope. So one find in the Paisley Caves was a strip of processed rabbit pelt, from which the team draws a parallel to rabbit fur skirts interwoven with plant fiber used until recently by the northern Paiutes of Oregon, which they suggest may represent a tradition going back to the Paleolithic. Is the team suggesting, based on a piece of rabbit pelt, twined matting, and some other evidence, including of mass rabbit harvest, that these Paleo-Americans were or could have been direct ancestors of the Native American tribes in the Great Northern Basin? Absolutely, Rosenkrantz tells Haaretz by telephone late at night, Nevada time. Don't know why that was very important to add. But okay, Haaretz was like, well, let's add that, okay? But the main thrust of their paper is that the perishable objects found in the North American Great Basin from the time humans were just arriving in the Americas shed light on something we never could prove, even if we inferred it from mounting circumstantial evidence, how our species coped on a day-to-day basis with bitter cold when no other human species could. So, reading this, I'm having a couple issues. So, probably most of you watching me will know the issues that I feel. First of all, this sentence, from the time humans were just arriving in America, we're talking 12,400 or 14,000 years ago. Humans were already in the Americas for thousands of years by then. And we already have proof of this. I've already spoken on this. Earliest evidence of humans in North America goes back 37,000 years ago. And we have the footsteps at, or like the footprints, the fossilized footprints at White Sands in New Mexico that dates back to at least 23,000 years ago, possibly going back as far as 27, 28, 29, possibly even 30,000 years ago. We have the gold site in Texas, my favorite book, Secrets in the Dirt. The gold site in Texas is at least 20,000 years ago, or like 20,000 years old. So for them to say and pretend like humans had just arrived in the Americas when we're talking about 12,400 or 14,000 years ago is Clovis culture bullshit. And like I've often mentioned, it's not archaeologists or the experts in the field pushing the narrative of Clovis first constantly. It's these articles. It's the mainstream media that is not up to date with the actual evidence of and the dates of everything. And then they write an article, and this is bullshit. So that was my first issue with this. My second issue is to pretend that we have never found any proof of human clothing. We've found sewing needles dating back to the time where not only Neanderthals were still roaming Europe, but also Homo heidelbergensis was roaming Europe. For what would you need a needle if you were not making any type of clothing or stitching skins together? Makes zero sense. It makes zero sense. So this whole bit here, it's just, it's annoying. I don't like it when articles are being like this. This find in itself is spectacular. Yes. We didn't need to like fluff it up with bullshit. Sorry. Stitching wounds, possible. Yeah, very possible. But you learn to stitch not on flesh. Let's be honest. Like, you learn to stitch with textiles, hides, things like that. Not your human flesh. But yeah, it's just weird. It's just, it wasn't so unnecessary to put that in there. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Thank you, William Pals, on the TikTok, sending me happy stickers. So, tailored on Cougar Mountain. That's such a wrong, Cougar Mountain. Oh, okay. So, all the cougar jokes in the chats, I understand. Yeah, yes, okay. Come at me. I'm expecting them now. Homo sapiens stand out from all other human species in at least a couple of ways. One is creating figurative art. Bullshit! We weren't the first. Neanderthals already did it. And Homo erectus had already carved lines on shells in Indonesia 140,000 years ago. Or was it something like that? I think. Homo erectus carving shell Indonesia. I'm not sure if it was 140,000 years ago or possibly even older. Yeah, the zigzags. 500,000 years ago. So what do you mean we're the first with like figurative art? Such bullshit. Such bullshit. And it's not the archaeologists pushing this bullshit. No. It's a journalist who just simply didn't take the time to actually do his research, but, you know, he read this thing here or there, or from other articles that also didn't do their own research, and then it just... the misinformation just spreads. And it's annoying! Okay, so... Alright. Another thing where Homo sapiens stand out from all other human species is that we alone, it seems, developed means to live in the far north. The Neanderthals and Denisovans are said to have conquered Eurasia, but that was below the ice sheets. They never went far north. How did we? We don't know, because there's no evidence of the fact that they have or have not tried to go further up north, and if it was fully on like glaciers and stuff, it's really difficult to trek there. And yeah, I mean, we went far north, but that was also after the ice sheets had already receded, so that's just bullshit. If the ice sheets had receded during the time of the Neanderthals and the Denisovans, they would have gone way further north, just like us. We only went there because those ice sheets were no longer making it impossible for us to go there. Sorry. I just don't like it when these journalists are pretending like we Homo sapiens were superior. We were very easily procreating in very fast numbers. So our population numbers were way higher than any of the other species before us. Because, I mean, we shebanged way more, and we shebanged way easier, and all the shebanging led to a whole lot of, like, you know, annoying little kids that cry and stuff, and then eventually they grow up to be adults. Even though we also had a high infant mortality rate, we shebanged a lot to make enough of those crying little things that eventually or died or became adult humans. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they use that 70-year-old textbook that they vaguely remember. It grinds my gears. I want to read good articles about good information and not this fluff. But okay. Hominins may have been controlling fire for maybe 1 million years. I covered this in a video. Okay. Here we go. History with paleo. I think it was 1.4 million years ago that Homo erectus was already doing it. I'm not sure. That's why I want to check. Erectus fire. It's 1 million years ago in my title. Does that mean that it was 1 million years ago? Load, please. No, I didn't want you to play. If people want to like look at that, they will have to look at this themselves. Here we have the science.org article. Nearly 1 million years ago. So, okay. That was one of the things that they actually kind of had right in their article. Yay. But one doesn't gamble naked in the snow protected by a torch. What the hell is that sentence? People, what the hell is that sentence? Okay. Fire would mainly help them ward off predators. Yeah. Warm the cave if they had one, and cook. They didn't necessarily need caves, but yeah, it's possible. So we assumed that humans made shoes and clothing in the Paleolithic because they had penetrated the far north by 45,000 years ago. We just never found any. But just because you haven't found any doesn't mean they didn't exist. And also, like I just said, if the ice sheets had gone away much earlier, the Neanderthals and Denisovans would have gone there. Done. We still haven't, but now we may have evidence of Paleo-Oregonians in Cougar Mountain Cave, sewing together pelts as the younger dryas took hold. From about 12,900 to 11,700 years ago, the warming trend reversed and the northern hemisphere turned colder and arid. A comet, or the bullshit of the comet. Oh, the impact hypothesis for the Younger Dryas. Why did they? Oh my god, why on earth would they put that in here? The paper for the impact comet theory for the Younger Dryas was retracted. It was taken off from the publication, like the publication was removed. My sister texted me this when I went to Peru, so let me just check. One sec. Yeah, it was a +1. 2 articles on the Younger Dryas pseudo comet impact retracted. So the Younger Dryas onset came because of, this comet impact hypothesis that had 2 publications on +1. They've been retracted because there was no scientific evidence for these publications. It was all bullshit and hearsay, and no one even understood why it was even published in the first place. Therefore, after years of archaeologists and geologists fighting against this misinformation, it was finally retracted. But why would you use that in your article about clothing that we found in Oregon? It was pseudo-archaeology. It was pseudoscience. What on earth? Sorry. Though this is hotly debated, so therefore this whole sentence could have been removed from your stupid article, and other evidence points to influxes of Arctic waters into global ocean currents, which I have explained. The Atlantic is a conveyor belt. Around the equator, the water warms up, and above and below the equator, the water cools down, and it's a conveyor belt. And salt water and fresh water don't have the same density, or in other words, they do not mix. And if too much fresh water comes into that conveyor belt of the Atlantic that already has its own system and works, it gets dysregulated by the fresh water coming in. It messes with that conveyor belt system that the Atlantic naturally has. And when that happens, the conveyor belt stops functioning. And that results in cooling temperatures. And I haven't even looked at that whole conveyor belt explanation for 2-3 years now. I haven't even covered that in the video in the past 2 or 3 years, I think. I have to, because I'm writing my Doggerland documentary script that is either premiering next week or the week after, because, I'm working on it. But I'll have to refresh my whole memory on that. But even now, years later, I'm still able to here you go, that information, I just farted it out. Come on, people, it's not difficult. And here they go. Anyway, you just spread misinformation and pseudoscience before giving the actual possible reason. And also, the Younger Dryas wasn't just one event of fresh water ending up in the Atlantic Ocean. There were volcanoes going off, spreading ashes and bullshit, and there was so much happening within 150 or 200 years of a time span, and that resulted in the Younger Dryas. The Dutch word for fart is scheet. There you go, onbedoeld kut. Okay, so we will continue. But yeah, pet peeve. Everyone knows pet peeves. Bye, Victoria. Thank you for joining. Alright, so anyway, during the Younger Dryas, temperatures are estimated to have dropped by as much as 10 degrees Celsius in Greenland. rather less the farther south one goes. For 1,000 years, the early Oregonians would have needed coats. Of course. The researchers can't say if the hide fragments connected by cord were from a coat or a moccasin or a piece of tent. Again, like, stringing hides together doesn't necessarily mean it's clothing. It could also be for shelter. We didn't need caves to keep ourselves safe. Caves were very nice and handy if you stumbled upon one, but we really didn't need them. We could create our own shelters. You just need a little bit of wood and some hides and you're golden. But okay. The interpretation is supported by the presence of needles and cord and the need for close-fitting layers of clothing. The finds are thrilling, if not a surprise. When people reach North America, perhaps around... Oh my god, Harriet! Oh my god. Are you guys annoyed like I am? Here they pretend like perhaps people reached North America 15,000 years ago. We have evidence of humans being present in North America going back 37,000 years ago. More than double of this estimation. What? Who wrote this? That's what I'm wondering. Who even wrote this? Why would they even publish this if it's full with misinformation and pseudoscience? This is Haaretz. You would expect more of them. But okay, they brought the spectrum of advanced skill from home, including a penchant for dog domestication. Yeah, exactly. Seems like a super shitty article, and it was the one with the most evidence. This was the one pushed by every other article. Every other article about this all spoke about Haaretz and read this article. Oh my god. Skills exhibited in the Oregon finds had been entrenched in the homeland since deeper prehistory. Again, white supremacist superiority complex with the homeland. Okay. String has been found in France 50,000 years ago and is presumed to have been made by Neanderthals, although Homo sapiens were also in France around 50,000 years ago. And like I said, we found bone needles dating back to way further ago. So, yeah. And at the hunter-fisher-gatherers camp of Ohalo in the Levant area by the Sea of Galilee from about 20,000 years ago, the technology was out there and the people in the basin made a variety. In fact, the largest category of perishables on Cougar Mountain was botanic fiber cord, Rosenkrantz explains. The cords were of varying diameters and qualities, suggesting different uses. They didn't find clear mats or baskets in the Oregon excavations, but the cord and other twined fragments could have been used in either. We note that separately, a basket was found in the Levant area from 10,000 years ago. I also made a video on that. I'm no longer using this word, as you guys know. This is now the Levant area. But I did make a video on Dead Sea Scroll fragments and the oldest woven basket and a mummified child found in the Cave of Horror 4 years ago. I think it's almost 5 years ago by now, because I remember it was 2021, but I'm not sure where or when in 2021. If I do more, almost 5 years ago, so way before what happened in that area, which resulted in the genocide. Y'all know what I mean, but okay. Ever since, I no longer try to use that one word for that country, because I'm against it. I'm against what they did. Okay? Okay. And I don't do modern stuff normally, but I refrain from that. And baskets almost as old were found in Spain's Cave of the Bats from 9,500 years ago. So that's cool. Cool. Here you can see that cordage. Really cool. I don't really cover much bronze stuff. I usually focus only on Stone Age stuff. Here we have fiber, knotted around wood, wooden artifacts, and needles. Needles, very important. We know needles happened a lot. Back in North America, supporting the sewing thesis, needles made of bone were found at 4 of the prehistoric Oregon sites. Possession of needle technology could also be predicted, Rosencrantz confirms. Similar needles were found in the Denisova cave in Siberia, going back at least 50,000 years ago, and in Europe from 15,000 years ago. That said, the needles in North America and Oregon, also dating to this time, are some of the finest needles made in the late Pleistocene. The only surprise is that the items were preserved at all, though the caves are about as arid as the caves around the Levant's area's Dead Sea, which explains the preservation. Cougar Mountain is a dry rock shelter. No water got in there for 13,000 years. That's nice. They exploited a wide range of plants. The diversity in the wood and plant species used to make the different items, with so many represented just in this small sample, was incredible to me, Rosencrantz said. We add that the caves may have been dry for 13,000 years inside, but the younger dryas was not only colder a lot, it was also wet compared to later times in the area. The Great Basin was marshy and there were lakes, supporting ample botanical biodiversity and rabbits. A lot of rabbits. Have I covered the stone circles in England? I've covered Stonehenge. Here in a 30-minute video from almost 6 years ago now, because I made that in the summer of 2020. So yeah, that's a whole video on not just Stonehenge, but also the whole surrounding landscape of Stonehenge. I looked a lot different back then, but yeah, the audio will also not be that great, but yeah. I covered the standing stones of Stoness. I covered the stones of Kalanish. So yeah, I have covered stone circles of the United Kingdom, I'd say. But yeah, okay. So, run, rabbit, run, and good luck to you. One way Homo sapiens doesn't stand out from the hominin pack is carnivory. The denizens of the Younger Dryas Oregon speared large animals but also hunted small game. Among other perishable items, the initial excavations in the 1960s reported wooden items, but some seem to have been displaced. Wonderful. Some weren't. And the team interprets 3 survivors as possible triggers for deadfall traps used to catch small animals. Alright. Frankly, these putative triggers look like broken sticks. How could they tell? This was the most difficult part of interpretation. These are probably the rarest item even in our dry rock shelters, Rosencrantz says. But they saw similarity to modern deadfall traps. We can't be 100% sure, but I'm pretty confident about the triggers, he adds. Alright, where's my... It's possible. Very possible. But yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, the inhabitants didn't have arrow technology and probably didn't hunt speedy animals like jackrabbits with spears, which they did have. That would be extremely difficult. The fur of the needful was likely obtained by rabbit runs. This looks like a tradition going back at least 10,000 years, and at Paisley at least 12,000 years. At 2 other sides with 100 kilometers of Paisley are ancient fire pits, both several meters in diameter, and in them zoo archaeologists identified more than 14,000 rabbit bones. No bones of other animals were identified in these pits. It seems, Rosencrantz says, very similar to what local people were observed doing at contact, a thing called communal rabbit drives. Kinda makes sense, you know? Yeah, exactly. But like you just write it a little bit different, Rosencrantz. But yeah, that's their last name. Very posh, very posh last name. So they were hunting a bunch of rabbits at once for fur and food, but also for wow, I can't speak again. But also for communal gathering, Rosencrantz explains. Welcome, welcome. Always happy to have you. That sounds eerily reminiscent of another ancient technique, hunting entire herds of gazelles and other herbivores by chasing them into giant traps, where they would be killed. What the people did with the tremendous amount of resulting protein is not clear. These traps, called kites, emerged thousands... What is this sentence? Emerged thousands of years after these people left Asia and in the desert further south. So not related, but is a moment to mull human nature. I feel like this entire article was written by AI, even though it's not showing any of the standard AI features that we normally see. But in all honesty, it feels like this article was written by AI. There's no soul into it. There's like these weird... so we were here. But like this okay... You were writing an article for Haaretz, and this okay here, okay, dot, the inhabitants. Wait, what? What was that other weird thing? I'm just annoyed with this whole article. I'm not even sure if I want to finish it, but like, ugh. Okay. And it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It's such a long article. And it's barely about like the actual stuff they found. Weird. There was a question about like souvenirs. I'm finally also wearing my ankh again from Egypt that I bought in 2022. Finally, the necklace is fixed. I was slow with it for about a year, but I'm now wearing a Cusco, Machu Picchu, and Pachamama on the back necklace. So that's like the best souvenir that I bought while I was in Peru, because now I wear something from Peru every day. And I also bought a small bracelet. Cute bracelet. I'm already wearing way too many, but I thought, why not add one more? And I also bought 2 rings for my pinkies. So, oh hey, Doctor! The Doctor AI on the Twitch. Welcome, welcome. Alright, so let's get through this stupid article that's really written by AI or whatever. It's just so freaking bad. I saw so many mistakes. But okay. Zen. Zen. Alright. What the people did with the tremendous amount of resulting protein is not clear. These traps, called kites, emerged thousands of years after these people left Asia and in the deserts further south. So not related, but it is a moment to mull human nature. Rabbits don't hurt, and jackrabbits don't burrow. Rosencrantz explains the rabbit drive. The people would fashion long nets, really, really, really long nets, he adds, sometimes as long as 300 meters. No idea if they actually did that 12 or 13 or 14,000 years ago, but like more in modern times, we know they did. And one group would chase rabbits into the net and another would dispatch them. It requires a community effort, he says. The assumption is that the fire pits with rabbit bones almost certainly represent communal rabbit hunting. So the rabbit drops the newcomers observed may have been a tradition going back to the beginning and persisting until colonization, displacement of local tribes, and the diminishing population of jackrabbits. Okay. Why, if they had rabbit drives, would they need drop traps too? Those putative triggers. We don't know if they were doing communal rabbit drives 12,000 years ago, like I just said. Among later tribes, rabbit drives generally occurred once in spring and once in fall, so traps would be used for day-to-day rabbit procurement. They would also likely hunt using atlatls and atlatl throwers and or throwing sticks like non-recourse boomerangs. Here again, some of the wood they found, some of that string or cordage, selecting wooden and fiber artifacts from the Paisley case. Really cool. Alright, let's continue. Thus, the complexity and sophistication of perishable technologies to contend with cold in the late Pleistocene stand is revealed. Could the rabbit drives fit with the new theory of human evolution out of the Tel Aviv University, which boils down to our ancestral species turning carnivorous about 2 million years ago, leading us to kill off the megafauna and be reduced to smaller animals, which needed new technologies? The overkill theory is well and good, but people needed a diverse diet, and the ability to hunt small animals and gather plants mattered too, Rosenkrantz says. We know from these sites that people did hunt bison and elk, but there is also solid evidence for rabbits. It's more complex. We are operating on a scale below human evolution and more about local adaptation. And then, as the younger dryas waned and temperatures began to rise, something odd happened to the bone-eyed needles. They all but disappear in the Great Basin as of the Holocene. Why? Even if they shifted to textiles, wouldn't they have to sew? First of all, they didn't have looms, their textile was woven bark and grasses, Rosenkrantz explains. Here you can see fiber objects from that Cougar Mountain cave. Awesome, awesome. This has to do with the functional operation of clothing, he says. For extreme cold, one needs warm hide clothing. When it gets more arid and warm, textiles will do. After about 11,000 years, we find a lot of fiber textiles in the archaeological record of the Great Basin. On top of that, upon contact, when Euro-Americans first met locals, they reported that the people of the basin, like most hunter-gatherers around the world at the time, didn't wear much. People mainly wore a loincloth, bark skirt, or in the winter, rabbit skin robes. Thus, technology connects to culture. Tailoring fitted clothing, including elements of rabbit, may have been a part of the Pleistocene adaptation, and come warmth, we adapted again. Okay. All right. So I'm very happy to be done with this one. What a terribly written article with way too many mistakes and misinformation and just honestly bullshit. Sorry. Had to say it. If I didn't say it now, who was gonna say it? Yeah, that whole article from Haaretz, terrible. So we are now going to so this article was written in, I think, originally in Spanish, because it is from this is a Spanish website, La Brújula Verde, and the writer is Guillermo Carvajal. Okay, so this article may have some spelling mistakes as well, but at least then I understand, because, you know, this wasn't a native English speaker. But with Haaretz, you sort of kind of expect a little bit more. So, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Unerztal, the enigmatic tunnels found across Europe whose function and origin are unknown, discovered in a Neolithic enclosure in Germany. Okay. Here you have completely uncovered passageway in the underground cave with a pointed pediment and a small niche in the wall. The passageway is 1 meter high and 50 to 70 centimeters wide. Really cool, really cool. I like. The plain stretching east of Rheinstedt, a locality in the Harz district of Saxony-Anhalt in Germany, known as Dornberg, concealed a complex superposition of times and functions that has only now begun to be revealed. Preventive archaeological excavations carried out in the late 2025 by the Landesamt für Denkmalpflege und Archäologie My German is worse than anything else. My apologies. I may have a German last name and I may have some German ancestry, but I suck at the language. Sorry. At least it was University of Saxony-Anhalt, in connection with a wind farm project, documented an exceptional stratigraphic sequence, an enigmatic Erztal, or system of underground tunnels from the late Middle Ages, excavated directly into the interior of the trapezoidal ditch of a Neolithic tomb belonging to the Baalberg culture, dated to the 4th millennium BCE. Yeah, cool. The find, which merges in a single geographic point two realities separated by more than 5 millennia, sheds new light on the persistence of places in the memory of the landscape and on one of the most intriguing and least understood archaeological phenomena of Central Europe. The work first brought to light the Neolithic funerary structure, a trapezoidal plan ditch characteristic of the Baalberg culture. Alongside it, several poorly preserved flexed burials from the late Neolithic, 3rd millennium BCE, were also found, as well as the remains of a possible Bronze Age tumulus, 2nd millennium BCE, and it was, however, an anomaly in the profile of the trapezoidal ditch that focused the archaeologists' attention. Okay, let's see what they say. So here we have an aerial view of the trapezoidal pit from the Middle Neolithic period. In the southeast, the alteration caused by the late medieval farm can be seen. Okay. Talking this much makes me so thirsty. Sorry. On the southern... Wow, I can speak. On the southern flank of the ancient enclosure, a sharply defined pit, elongated and oval in shape, measuring approximately 2 meters in length by 75 centimeters in width, cut the course of the prehistoric ditch at an almost right angle. The presence of a large stone slab at the northern end of the pit initially suggested another inhumation. This hypothesis faded as the excavation progressed. The fill layers, which showed a marked... Wow, I can speak. I really can't speak. The fill layers, which showed a marked inclination towards the north, did not end at a bottom, but instead persistently penetrated the subsoil composed of firm, compact, light, colorless loess, literally perforating the interior of the Neolithic monument. The ceramic fragments recovered from this fill belonged unequivocally to the late Middle Ages. The nature of the find was then clear. It was the entrance to an Erztal. The term Erztal, which has prevailed in the specialized literature, designates these systems of underground galleries of anthropic origin, often with lateral chambers, which proliferate in regions with consistent and easily workable soils, such as loess. Their interpretation has generated decades of academic debate, oscillating between the theory that considers them temporary refuges or hideouts and the one that attributes to them a ritual or cultic function, linked to pre-Christian or popular beliefs. The Reinstedt example, meticulously documented, offers concrete data for this discussion. The stratigraphic excavation of the fill in the northern sector revealed the opening of a narrow passage curving toward the northwest. Its height ranged between 1 and 1.25 meters, with a width of between 50 and 70 centimeters. And in some stretches, it featured a gabled, vaulted ceiling. Okay. Inside this corridor, the sediment accumulated over the centuries preserved a revealing assemblage of materials, a horseshoe, a complete fox skeleton, and numerous bones of micromammals, and in the deepest levels a layer of charcoal appeared. The absence of thermal reddening in the underlying soil, replaced by simple compaction, indicates that the fire that produced it was short-lived, perhaps merely a source of light. Well, my throat's very annoyed now. Oh well. One construction detail is particularly sliced. Wow, I really can't speak. Whew. I'm annoyed with myself. One construction detail is particularly striking. At the narrowest point of the entrance, an intentional accumulation of large stones stacked on top of one another suggests a deliberate sealing of the axis. Next to it, a step carved into the lowest earth itself and a small niche in the wall of the pit were identified. The central question is why someone in the heart of the late Middle Ages would devote themselves to excavating a laborious underground hideout in the core of a prehistoric funerary structure already millennia old at the time. The archaeologists of the LDA consider two main hypotheses, which are not necessarily mutually exclusive. The first is practical in nature. The Neolithic tumulus, which likely remained visible in the medieval landscape as a singular elevation, could have served as a perfect topographic landmark for locating and recovering access to the hideout when necessary. The second hypothesis is social or superstitious in character. It is possible that the place, known to the local population as an ancient pagan tomb, was the object of widespread wariness or avoidance. This marginal character would have made it an ideal location for activities required absolute discretion, far from prying eyes. Kind of makes sense. The phenomenon of Erdstalle, plural of Erdstal, is not an isolated case in Rheinstedt. On the contrary, it fits into a widely documented archaeological pattern in Central Europe. Thousands of similar tunnels, whose original function remains elusive, are spread from southern Germany and Austria to the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, France, and even some regions of the United Kingdom and Spain. They are known by various local names: unterirdische Gänge, Geheimgänge, Schratzloch in later Bavaria, alluding to the legend that they were the works of dwarfs, or Grüfen in parts of Austria. But they share astonishingly uniform morphological characteristics. Okay. The vast majority are modestly sized structures, rarely exceeding 50 meters in length. Their design is constrained by extreme narrowness. The maximum width usually does not exceed 60 centimeters, and the height ranges between 1 and 1.4 meters, forcing a person of small build to move through them hunched over or sideways. Not necessarily cool. I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm way too tall. Some examples develop more complex systems with several connected levels leading to terminal chambers, the Schlusskammer, and even with parallel inbound and outbound passages, yet without losing that claustrophobic proportion. An almost defining feature is the presence of the so-called Schlupf, an additional access conduit that is even narrower, passably only by crawling prone, and which would act as a defensive or symbolic bottleneck. Absolute dating of these cavities is problematic. They're usually found completely empty, lacking any organic or artifactual remains that would allow for precise chronology. In the few cases where materials have been located, such as metal tools, ceramic fragments, charcoal, or grinding stones, the application of radiocarbon dating has yielded consistently medieval dates, between the 10th and the 13th centuries. This temporal window underpins most current research, although some minority voices have postulated much more remote origins, even as old as 5,000 years. The first documentary mention of the term Erdstahl appears in the tax records of the Austrian city of Osbarn in 1449. The systematic study of these tunnels is owed to the Benedictine Lambert Karner, who between 1879 and 1903 explored and catalogued numerous examples, publishing his conclusions in Kunstliche Hüllen aus alter Zeit. Karner already dismissed at that time, based on their design, any practical use as prolonged refuges or effective escape routes. And then we just go on. It's cool. They found it, but really, we're already streaming for an hour and a half, and we've gone through what? This was the third article. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So we're going to the next. And I really like this one. I'm not sure how great the article is written, So yeah, don't come for me. But at least the idea of this one was fun. So researchers discovered that ancient floods rewrote civilizations along the Yangzi River in China. So yeah, those Erzstal, the tunnels were from Middle Ages. I thought that the whole article would go way more into like that Neolithic burial tomb that was there before these Middle Age tunnels were created, but the article only focused on the tunnels. I like Stone Age stuff, and Middle Ages, way too young. Sorry. Alright, so researchers discovered that ancient floods rewrote civilizations along the Yangtze River. A new study involving researchers from Oxford's Department of Earth Sciences has finally solved the mystery of what caused the collapse of an ancient Chinese civilization, finding that widespread flooding was to blame. The findings have been published in National Science Reviews. So around 4,600 years ago, the Xijia developed an advanced complex culture in China's middle Yangtze River region, complete with palaces, city walls, sophisticated water management, and jade and pottery industries. But within 1,000 years, this culture had collapsed and migrated out of the region. Until now, the reason behind this was unclear. Could the civilization have been driven out by raiders from the Central Plains, or were major changes in climate and rainfall to blame? To investigate, the research team analyzed the stalagmite from Heshang Cave in the Middle Yangtze Valley to create a precisely dated rainfall yearbook. Stalagmites grow as rainwater droplets fall from the roof of a cave, and the dissolved minerals within deposit new layers of calcium carbonate. These accumulate to form stalagmite cave features that rise up from the floor below. The team performed high-precision measurements on the chemical makeup of these layers to determine their age and the amount of rainfall at the time they were formed. A total of 925 sample measurements were used to infer how much yearly rainfall the Middle Yangtze Valley received over a 1,000-year period. All right. Their reconstruction showed that the valley experienced 3 low rainfall intervals, less than 700 millimeters of rain per year, which lasted between 40 and 150 years, and 2 high rainfall intervals, more than 1,000 millimeters per year, which lasted between 80 and 140 years, respectively. Okay. Comparing this to archaeological data from the region revealed that these high rainfall periods, the one that lasted 80 years and the other that lasted 140 years, were associated with increased flooding, widespread wetland expansion, and a significant decline in population within the valley. All right, so that's cool. The area experienced a particularly large climate and cultural shift 3,950 years ago, which coincided with the start of the longest high rainfall interval reconstructed by the research team. During this period, excess rainfall caused lakes across the middle Yangtze Valley to expand, low-lying areas to become waterlogged, and suitable land for settlement and farming to sharply diminish. The impact of this change was significant for the Xijia culture. A decline in the number of archaeological remains from this time onwards indicates a pronounced drop in population which persisted for centuries. Evidence suggests that the post-Xijia population abandoned their urban center in the valley and dispersed into surrounding higher elevation regions. The work builds on Oxford's environmental proxies and climotope research groups leading excellence in pioneering and developing quantitative reconstructions of past environments. This includes ongoing research into new geochemical techniques and continued development of mass spectrometry and geochemistry approaches. For instance, these groups were the first to pioneer the use of calcium isotope measurements of cave stalagmites to reconstruct rainfall amount in readily understood units. Corresponding author Dr. Christopher Day, Department of Earth Sciences, said, "It is fabulous to see this 1,000-year record of rainfall amount now available to the scientific community. Such robust data sets are fundamental for understanding the functioning of our environmental systems in times of rapid change. They also enable close collaboration with a multitude of University of Oxford research teams working to tackle environmental challenges. The new study stems from a long-standing collaboration between Oxford and long-standing collaboration, whatever. So a co-author said, "We worked with our Chinese colleagues to understand Chinese climate change for many years, but only recently extended this work to assess how past societies in central China were impacted by changes in monsoon rainfall. The data and the knowledge Jin brought about the Xijia culture enables us to demonstrate for one of the first times that high rain can cause problems for past societies as well as drought conditions." Makes sense. Yeah. Both of that makes a lot of sense. According to the researchers, the findings offer valuable insights for addressing current and future environmental change. The analysis reveals that even the highest annual levels of rainfall during the period associated with the collapse of the Xijia civilization are lower than the highest yearly rainfall amounts recorded over the past 120 years. Although modern water management techniques have enabled this region to become a key rice-producing region in China. Rising temperatures due to climate change are likely to increase the intensity of extreme floods, putting local populations at risk again. So I really thought that this was at least, cool. Let me just... I don't have much fluids anymore, so I'll ask if Kevin is able to bring me cola to my office. All right, let's see. All right. Next article. Because I am always thirsty, apparently, when I am streaming. All right. Ancient people had nautical tech know-how to cross hazardous Arctic Channel. New archaeological evidence for repeat sea journeys and stay at remote islands. No idea, but it sounds cool. So I thought, well, let's look at this article too. All right, so archaeologists have found the remains of an ancient camp on a remote high Arctic island that dates back more than 4,000 years. They offer surprising new insights about the people who lived near what is now the Canada-Greenland border and journeyed to take advantage of a rich new ecosystem that formed around that time. The Paleo-Inuit archaeological site was found in Kitsisut, a rocky cluster of cliff-edged islands between Greenland and Ellesmere Island. As it was thousands of years ago, getting there today by boat is a journey of at least 53 kilometers from the nearest shore in harsh, high Arctic sea conditions. It would have been a fairly extraordinary journey for them to get to this location by watercraft, said Matthew Walls, lead author of the new study describing the findings, published Monday in the Journal of Antiquity. Walls estimates that by canoe or kayak, getting to Kitsisut would have taken 12 to 15 hours of difficult paddling, so long that the weather might easily go from calm to stormy en route. The archaeological site contains evidence that many people visited and stayed there repeatedly. It's obviously a place where people are returning over the long term, Walls said. All right. Max Friesen, a University of Toronto Arctic archaeologist who has collaborated with the paper's other authors, but was not involved in this research, said that the findings suggest that the Paleo-Inuit people had much more sophisticated seafaring technology than previously thought. He said small fragments of their boats have been found, suggesting they had canoe or kayak-like vessels made of animal skins pulled over a bone or wood frame. but not much more was known. Friesen, who was Wall's PhD supervisor, said that the Paleo-Inuit were found across the high Arctic. If they had the skills and technology to travel repeatedly to Kitsisut, they likely could also do things like hunt seals or even whales far out in the ocean. That means that they may have had wider options for what resources they could use and how they could impact ecosystems thousands of years ago. It has huge implications across the rest of the Arctic, right? Said Friesen. So that's really exciting to really add that to what we know about the transportation technology. Walls worked with University of Greenland, I can't pronounce this, Ilisimatusarfik, Inuit archaeologists Mari Kleist and Pauline Knudsen, and a team that included Inuit from nearby communities to map the archaeological site and expose the artifacts between 2017 and 2019. A set of ridges have been rising out the ocean over time, springing back from the weight of now melted glaciers. On the oldest, highest ridges, farthest inland from the modern coastline, there are at least 18 tent rings, circular areas cleared of rocks with a ring of stones around them. Those stones may have held down the edges of the tents, likely seal skin stretched over driftwood frames. Okay, so that's cool. And here you can see that in a video. And a sippy sip for me. There was typically a central hearth with the remains of burnt driftwood in the center and a line of stones dividing the tent into two rooms. You can see that here here you can see that stone line dividing it into two rooms. That could have been used for different activities, such as working with animal skins or making stone tools. A seabird bone found inside one of the tent rings was said to be between 4,000 to 4,400 years old, a period when the first archaeological evidence of people known as the Paleo-Inuit are found across the high Arctic. So that's cool. It was also around that time that the rich ecosystem was developing in Kitsisut, due to the formation of a rare channel of open water in the sea ice called the Pikialosor Suak, or Northwater Polinia. Walls said it's caused by the unique wind, current, and geographic conditions in this area. It's a really important ecological hotspot, said Walls. The open water allows for phytoplankton blooms that support an entire food chain. Okay, that's cool. The cliffs of Kitsisut are home to nesting colonies of seabirds and the marine mammals, such as seals, hunt in the surrounding waters, many of which would have first moved there when the Polinia opened. Wall said that it's important for people to think about how these Arctic ecosystems and their conservation. Indigenous communities are part of their development over the long term, right back to their early formation, he said. Leslie House is Director of Archaeology at the Inuit Heritage Trust, the Inuit organization that co-governs cultural heritage with the Nunavut government, including archaeological collections and education, permitting for archaeological projects and requests to work with Inuit belongings. House, who has previously worked with Walls, Kleist, and Knudsen, but wasn't involved in this study, said that archaeologists used to think that Paleo-Inuit relied heavily on hunting animals on land. She is not surprised by evidence that they had such a high level of skill on the sea, given the need to make use of all available resources to survive in such a harsh environment. The water is essential to living in the north, she said, and you have to depend and rely on all animals that are there and adapt with the technologies that you have. So I think this research kind of brings this to light. Loved this article. See, this is just a simple, good, clear-cut article. Thank you. Okay. Whew. I am going to look at more of the awesome stuff, because like there were a couple of awesome articles with good information, and I'm not sure how long I will be streaming for still. So first, let's get the awesome stuff out of the way, because yeah, I might get tired in a little bit, and otherwise I won't be able to do the awesome stuff and just get, annoyed with like Haaretz articles that were super fucking annoying. But okay. We survived it. It's fine. I think it's fine. It's whatever. So, absolute surprise. Beautiful when mainstream media puts it like that. Homo erectus skulls found in China are almost 1.8 million years old, the oldest evidence of the ancient human relatives in East Asia. Not everyone is of the belief that it's necessarily Homo erectus or whatever. Like there's a whole lot of stuff about this. So I haven't fully looked into like everything from this yet, but I did see this while I was in Peru, because as you can see, this was published on the 18th of February when I was just in Peru. So, a new date for Homo erectus skulls found in central China provides new insight into how and when ancient human relatives reached Eastern Asia. Okay, cool. Well, let's do this. So, 3 Homo erectus skulls previously unearthed in China are almost 1.8 million years old, around 600,000 years older than originally thought, a new study finds. This revelation has made the Yangzi skulls from the Hubei province the oldest evidence of our early human relatives, known as hominins, but also they were humans, because it was Homo erectus, in East Asia, according to research published on Wednesday, February the 18th, in the journal Science Advances. Study co-author Christopher Bay, a professor of anthropology at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, told Life Science in an email. They always tell Life Science in an email because they just never call or do a Zoom thing or anything else. Like they don't WhatsApp or text. It's always in an email. Wow. No idea what the hell that was. But, well, we coughed. So he told Life Science in an email that he felt absolute surprise when he first saw the results of the analysis. This more ancient age may force experts to rethink the date that Homo erectus first emerged, which is believed to have occurred around 2 million years ago in Africa. Yes and no. Because, where are you? Okay, so, I think it was 2.2 million years ago, so, Homo erectus Ethiopia. Ew, AI. No, I think it was 2 million years ago. 2.2 million. Let's see. 2.6 million years ago, even. But that's Nutcracker Man. Nutcracker Man is Australopithecus. Oh my god, that's annoying. I thought it was 2.2, but oh well, 2 million years ago. Fine. What this means is that we need to consider pushing the origin of Homo erectus back to around 2.6 million years ago. Don't know why I knew, but yeah, I felt like that. Reviewed relic, no, I don't hate you. Unless you give me reason to hate you. Depends on you. Alright. Homo erectus has long been considered the first human relative to leave Africa, with 1.78 million to 1.85 million years old fossils found at the Dmanisi site in Georgia, being the earliest evidence of humans in Asia. But stone tools discovered at 2 sites in China dated to 2.1 and 2.43 million years ago have complicated that picture, since they predate experts' theory of when Homo erectus originated. like I said, Homo erectus older than we currently have evidence of. So, yeah. The exact date of the 3 Yangshan skulls, which were found between 1989 and 2022, has long been debated, but they were previously considered to be around 1 million years old, based on the age of animal teeth found close by. Although one study dated them to around 1.1 million years ago using electron spin resonance and uranium series dating. Uranium series dating, which is also Sirius dating. So when the opportunity arose to try a new dating technique at the site, Bay and his colleagues thought it was a good chance to revisit the debate. Their team used a technique called cosmogenic nuclide burial dating to determine the age of the quartz found in the sediment layers where the skulls were found. This dating technique measures the half-life of 2 chemical variants, aluminum-26 and beryllium-10, to determine how much time has passed since the quartz was exposed to cosmic rays. This dating method revealed the hominin fossils were approximately 1.77 million years old, which is about 600,000 years older than the oldest age proposed for the site previously, Bay said. Because the new date is younger than the stone tools discovered somewhere in China, there is still a large time gap of around 600,000 years between the earliest fossil evidence and the earliest tool evidence, he added. But since this date is close in time to the Dmanisi fossils in Georgia, the results suggest that Homo erectus moved across Asia relatively quickly. The size and shape of the Yangshan skulls, however, shows that these hominins had larger brains than those found in Dmanisi, despite being a relatively similar age. Thank you. This points to important variation in the early hominins outside of Africa. Karen Babb, a professor of anatomy at Midwestern University in Arizona, who was not involved in the new study, told Life Science in an email. Because like I said, Life Science will always ask people things in an email. They will never do a Zoom call or WhatsApp them or text them or anything else. It's always in an email. Let me fill up my cup because I'm thirsty. All right. So, Chris Stringer. I like Chris Stringer. I've asked him to look at my Neandertal documentary script once I'm close to finishing, which may still take a couple of years, but, you know, at least I asked him and he said yes, because honestly, Chris Stringer seems to be a dope dude. But Chris Stringer, a paleoanthropologist at the National History Museum in London, who was not involved with this study, told Life Science in an email. Why they always have to specify that it was in an email, I will not know. Like, oh well. That it would indeed be remarkable if the Yangshan skulls were nearly 1.8 million years old. But placing Yangshan at such a great age would put it completely out of sync with the rest of the fossil record. According to previous work by Stringer and his colleagues, the Yangshan fossils may belong to a group that gave rise to the Denisovans, which their models suggest emerged around 1.2 million years ago. The new date for the Yangshan fossils, if correct, may also require experts to reconsider the origin of the ancestors to our own species, Homo sapiens. Stringer said, "I would suggest that further work on the dating of the site is certainly needed." And then the article just ends, which is bullshit. But that was at least okay. Okay. I have not done movie reviews or book reviews or things like that. Sorry. I'm not sure if I ever want to, though. Like, I understand that yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a thing that I would like to do, if I'm honest. Okay, so next article, by the way. Hi, sorry. Yes, I would definitely be very interested in visiting New Zealand at one point in my life. It's just very expensive. And unfortunately, I am not rich. So hopefully one day we shall see. Next article. A key out of Africa site just got older. Dating methods push the Ubaidia site back at least 1.9 million years. A new study provides so this coincides a little bit with what we just looked at, fossils possibly dating back further ago, found already in China. Now we have a site outside of Africa, which is close by Africa still. That also dates back further. A new study provides a clearer timeline of one of the most significant prehistoric sites worldwide for the study of human evolution. By integrating 3 advanced dating techniques, researchers have determined that the site of the Ubaidia in the Jordan Valley likely dates back to at least 1.9 million years ago. This revised age suggests that Ubaidia is among the oldest known sites of early humans outside of Africa. The Ubaidia Formation has long interested researchers because it preserves early evidence of the Acheulean culture, characterized by large bifacial stone tools found in association with rich faunal assemblages, including species of African and Asian origin, some of which are now extinct. I see a lot of typing going on. Let's see. Yeah, I know. I know that email contact, of course, is better, but why do you have to end every sentence where someone said something that they said it in an email? Always. That's after like the third time that you read that in a life science article, it gets really annoying. If you read as many life science articles as me in like about 1 week, it becomes a very big pet peeve real quickly because it's just annoying. Really unnecessary. Just not necessary at all. We spoke to da 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 da, and they said blah blah blah. It's very simple like that. You don't need to specify that it was in an email. We had email exchange. I don't know. All right, so the research is published in the journal Quaternary Science Reviews. The study was led by Professor Ari Matmon of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Professor Omri Barzilai from the University of Haifa, and Professor Miriam Bellmaker from the University of Tulsa. However, establishing the site's exact age has been a challenge for decades. For many years, most researchers estimated that Ubaidia dated to between 1.2 and 1.6 million years ago, but this age was based on relative chronology. To determine the precise age of Ubaidia, the team returned to the site and resampled it using a battery of novel dating techniques, each offering a different way of probing the deep past. And this is one of those bifacial stone tools from Ubaidia. Awesome. One method, known as cosmogenic isotope burial dating, which we just spoke about in the previous article actually, measures rare isotopes created when cosmic rays strikes rock at Earth's surface. Once those rocks are buried, the isotopes begin to decay at predictable rates, effectively starting a geological clock that reveals how long they have lain underground. The scientists also examined traces of Earth's ancient magnetic field preserved in the site's lake sediments. As sediments settle, they lock in the direction of the planet's magnetic field at that moment. By matching these magnetic signatures to known reversals in Earth's history, the researchers determined that the layers formed during the Machuama Chron, which is a period that began more than 2 million years ago. Finally, the team analyzed fossilized melanopsis shells, freshwater snails embedded in the sediment, using uranium-lead dating to establish a minimum age for the layers in which the stone tools were discovered. And altogether, the results converged on a significantly earlier date than previously assumed. Very nice. Okay. What the new age reveals. So the findings indicate that the Ubaidia site is at least 1,900,000 years old, representing a major shift in our understanding of early human history. This new timeline suggests that Ubaidia is roughly the same age as the well-acknowledged Dmanisi site in Georgia, which means that our ancestors were spreading across different regions at a similar time. It would also suggest that two different technologies of making stone tools, the simpler Oldowan stone tool tradition and the more advanced Acheulean tradition, migrated at the same time from Africa by the different groups of hominins as they moved into new territories. Cool. The study also addressed a major scientific hurdle. The initial isotope readings suggested that the rocks were 3 million years old, which contradicted paleomagnetic, paleontological, geological, and archaeological evidence. The researchers addressed this hurdle by demonstrating that the sediments containing human remains have a long history of recycling within the Dead Sea Rift and along its margins. The exposure burial history that emerges from the model implies recycling of sediments previously deposited and buried in the Rift Valley and then redeposited along the Ubaidia Paleo Lake shoreline. All right, so that was cool. I enjoyed that one. Oh yeah, so here we have the official article for it, because I actually found this one and I think it's sort of open. Okay. So yeah. So I threw that in there. Let's see, because there was one that I wanted to look at. Was it not? Was there not? Was there not a big one still? No. We at least did the big one that I wanted to do. So, oh, this is just ending with a lot of pictures. So this is like 2 minutes. Egypt discovers Old Kingdom rock-cut tombs at Kubet al-Hawa in Aswan. An Egyptian mission from the Supreme Council of Antiquities has uncovered a group of rock-cut tombs dating back to the Old Kingdom at Kubet al-Hawa in Aswan, adding to Egypt's rich archaeological record. The discovery made during the current excavation season includes tombs featuring burial shafts and chambers, offering new insights into the funerary practices of one of ancient Egypt's earliest periods. Archaeologists also found evidence that these tombs were reused during later eras, including the First Intermediate Period and the Middle Kingdom, highlighting the site's continued significance across centuries. The Secretary General Hisham El-Leiti said the discovery enhances the historical importance of Kubet al-Hawa and contributes to a deeper understanding of its development over time. He added that documentation and scientific recording of the findings are set to continue as part of the Council's academic mission. Among the most notable finds are 2 burial chambers containing around 160 pottery vessels and various shapes and sizes, many of which remain in good condition. The vessels bear inscription in hieratic script and are believed to have been used for storing liquids and grains. In addition, archaeologists uncovered a collection of artifacts in the tomb's outer courtyard, including bronze mirrors, alabaster coal containers, colorful bead necklaces, and a range of amulets dating to the Middle Kingdom. Kubet al-Hawa is known for its extensive necropolis, which spans multiple historical periods from the Old Kingdom through the Greco-Roman era, making it one of Upper Egypt's most significant archaeological sites. Excavations are ongoing, with further discoveries expected in the near future. So yeah, that's cool. So here you have that mirror, we have some alabaster vessels, and some beaded bracelets, and a beaded necklace, and another beaded necklace. Really cool, really cool. I like. Okay. So, showed that on screen for a little bit. Yeah, let's do this one. First known case of intentional mummification of Inca child sacrifice. Children sacrificed in Inca Capacocha rituals may have been reburied and deliberately modified after death, according to new research led by Dagmara Socha from the University of Warsaw. The study reports the first known case of the intentional mummification of a Capacocha victim and documents multiple injuries and pathological changes, including enlarged esophagus and calcifications in the lungs. The findings are based on computed tomography (CT scans) of 4 naturally mummified children discovered in the summits of the Ampatto and Sarasara volcanoes in Peru. The results were published in the Journal of Archaeological Science Reports. Capacocha was one of the most important rituals of the Inca Empire, during which children and young women were sacrificed to major deities. It has always sucked to be born a girl. Even back then. Even in modern times. Honestly, it has always sucked. We make the best of it, but we didn't ask for it. I mean, we were sacrificed to major deities. Why? Because we were girls. Although Spanish chroniclers described the practice after the conquest of South America, little material archaeological evidence has survived. In the 1990s, Johann Reinhardt discovered frozen mummies with rich funerary equipment on Peruvian volcano summits. The new bioarchaeological research re-examined 4 of these high-altitude burials using non-invasive imaging. The examined remains come from high-altitude volcanic sites, where low temperatures, a dry climate, and a lack of microorganisms facilitated the preservation of soft tissue. CT scans revealed details that would have been impossible to see with traditional tests. This allowed us to identify the first known case of intentional mummification of a Capacocha victim, as well as numerous injuries and pathological changes in the mummified children, Socha said. Some of the mummies showed signs of natural mummification caused by low temperatures. Others had damage consistent with lightning strikes, a common occurrence on exposed Andean peaks, and analysis found that all 4 children died from blows to the head. One victim, an 8-year-old girl, had an intracerebral hematoma. She also displayed lesions characteristics of Chagas disease, including an enlarged esophagus and calcifications in the lungs. In the case of the mummy known as the Lady of Ampatto, or Juanita, whose face was reconstructed in 2023, researchers identified injuries to the chest and the pelvis. The presence of pre-death illnesses and internal pathological changes challenges ethnohistorical accounts suggesting that only children in perfect health and with ideal physical appearance were selected as Capacocha victims. The most unexpected findings concerned the mummy-designated Ampatto 4. CT scans showed that a distorted anatomical arrangement within the burial bundle, missing bone fragments and the presence of stones and likely textile fragments in the abdominal cavity. So researchers interpret this as evidence of deliberate post-mortem intervention. The girl was probably sacrificed elsewhere and then relocated. Her physical integrity was symbolically repaired. Such practices correspond to historical accounts of the relocation of ethnic groups, Mitimais, in the Inca Empire, carried out both as a form of punishment and as a mean of colonizing overpopulated areas. The relocated individuals took sacred objects with them, including the mummies of their ancestors, which enabled them to establish a relationship with the new sacred landscape. Capacocha victims likely served a similar function. According to the researchers, the findings suggest that the ritual significance of the children continued after death. Evidence of possible secondary burial and further manipulation of the body suggests that the ritual role of the Capacocha victim continued long after their deaths. In this way, the children remained present in the religious landscape and social memory, becoming a permanent element of the spiritual map of the empire. So the study forms a part of a broader project funded by Polish National Science Center under an Opus grant. Since 2024, the team has also been conducting re-excavations on Andean peaks as part of the project. So yeah, I very much enjoyed this. All right, let's see. Okay, so not too much going on in the chats, nothing I need to like jump on. Oh yeah, so this is a lot of reading, but it's fine. So this is probably the last one because, like I said, it's quite a bit of reading, and a lot of people have misinterpreted this study quite a bit. So a whole lot of people are saying writing is now 40,000 years old. It doesn't really work like that, but a precursor to written language does date back to 40,000 years ago. It's just not writing per se. So I'm going to enlarge this because it is a bit of reading, and I'm lazy, but also I'm getting a little bit tired and fatigued. Like I said in the beginning, I'm a little bit fatigued. This was injection day, and I get fatigued often, and I get some brain fog, and a bigger font is just better for now. So, signs on Stone Age objects, precursor to written language, dates back 40,000 years. And here you can see on the picture. Okay. Over 40,000 years ago, our early ancestors were already carving signs into tools and sculptures. According to a new analysis by linguist Christian Benz at Saarland University and archaeologist Ewa Dutkiewicz at the Museum für und, well, you just say Museum of Prehistory and Early History in Berlin, these sign sequences have the same level of complexity and information density as the earliest proto-cuneiform script that emerged tens of thousands of years later, around 3000 BCE. Using a computational approach, the team examined over 3,000 signs found on 260 objects to reveal insights on the origins of writing, and their findings, which will be published in the journal PNAS, were clear and surprised even the researchers, because researchers are always surprised, it seems. Okay. Paleolithic objects dating back between 34,000 and 45,000. Let's just begin again. All right, let's begin again. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Paleolithic objects dating between 34,000 and 45,000 years bear mysterious sign sequences, often repeated lines, notches, dots, and crosses. Many of these artifacts were discovered in caves in the Swabian Jura, such as a small mammoth found in the Vogelherd cave in Lone Valley in southwestern Germany. A Stone Age human carved the mammoth figurine out of a mammoth tusk and carefully engraved it with rows of crosses and dots. Other artifacts found in the Swabian Jura are also etched with signs. One of these objects is the Adorant, a mammoth ivory plate uncovered in the Geisenklosterne cave in the Ach Valley that depicts a hybrid lion-human creature. Hybrid lion-human creature. That's this one. Also, northo2.com if you want to get your own. Okay, I'm just saying. Plus, like, do you see this cool Neanderthal skull here with like a cap on at the moment? Also, northo2.com. Grab your own. It's cool. But yeah, okay. So continue. The object is likewise adorned with rows of dots and notches. Upon close inspection, another mythical depiction of a human-lion hybrid, the lion-human from the Hollenstein Stadel cave in the Lone Valley, reveals notches placed at regular intervals along the arm. I don't think that was this one, but... Yeah, no, not this one. What was it? Oh yeah, actually... He even grabbed that in this one. You see this? All these lines here? These are notches. So actually, yeah, it's actually on there. Even on the 3D print by north02.com. Grab your own. Okay. New findings show that these marks are there for a reason. Stone Age humans used them to convey information and to record their thoughts. Our research is helping us uncover the unique statistical properties, or statistical fingerprint, of these sign systems, which are an early predecessor to writing, explains Professor Christian Benz of Saarland University. Yeah, it was very small on the screen. I'm sorry, okay? Like, I'll grab it one more time. One more time. I need to focus on this. Do you see? Oh my god. Come on. You see those lines? They're on the arm, so like here. Okay, so that's the biggest I can show on your screen. It's fine. It's fine. But I at least tried, okay? I tried, and if it didn't work, oh well. The Swabian Jura is one of the regions where objects with this type of sign have been found most frequently, but there are, of course, other important regions. Countless tools and sculptures from Paleolithic or the Old Stone Age bear intentional sign sequences. Elaborates PhD archaeologist Ewa Dudkiewicz, and the researchers traveled together throughout Europe, visiting museums and archaeological sites to find new Stone Age signs. There are many sign sequences to be found on artifacts. We've only just scratched the surface, says Dudkiewicz, who is a research associate and curator of the Stone Age department of the Staatliche Museen zu Berlin. Yeah, definitely. It's here also like tattoos and other things, yeah. It was really cool. The artifacts date back to tens of thousands of years before the first writing systems, to the time when Homo sapiens left Africa, settled in Europe, and encountered Neanderthals. Not necessarily, because 45,000 years ago we were already in Europe for at least 5,000 years, possibly even longer, so... Again, yeah. But okay, in a project funded by the European Research Council, the two researchers and their team are examining how Stone Age humans encoded information in sign sequences. The researchers analyzed more than 3,000 geometric signs found on 260 objects using computational approaches. I need to burp. Oh, thank God, it was a silent one. Oof. Sometimes I burp like a drunken sailor, and they're so loud. But okay, we're doing fine. Their aim was not to uncover the concrete meanings of the signs, which have not been deciphered. There are plenty of theories, but until now there has been very little empirical work carried out on the basic, measurable characteristics of the signs, explains Benz. His research deals with frequency, trends, and tangible, measurable aspects of the signs. This allows him to see what the sign systems have in common with later systems and how they differ. The linguist aims to leverage statistics to uncover insights on the origin of information encoding. Our analysis demonstrate that these sign sequences have nothing to do with the writing systems of today, which represent spoken languages and are characterized by high information density. In contrast, the signs on the archaeological objects are frequently repeated, cross, 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 line, 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 and this type of repetition is not a feature found in spoken language. However, our findings also show that Paleolithic hunter-gatherers developed a system of symbols that has an information density that is statistically comparable to the earliest proto-cuneiform tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, which came some 40,000 years later. Sign sequences in proto-cuneiform script are also repetitive, and the individual signs are repeated at a similar rate. In terms of complexity, the sign sequences are comparable. Figurines exhibit higher informational density than do tools, who also used to curate the Vogelhert Archaeological Park in the Swabian Jura, that archaeologist Dudkiewicz. Yeah. The researchers were particularly surprised by how the sign systems measured up to proto-cuneiform. We hypothesized that the early proto-cuneiform script would be more similar to the writing systems of today, especially due to their relative proximity in time. Yet, the more we studied them, the clearer it became that the early proto-cuneiform script is very similar to the much older Paleolithic sign sequences. That also means that little changed between the Old Stone Age and the emergence of the first proto-cuneiform scripts. Then, about 5,000 years ago, a new system emerged relatively suddenly that represents spoken language. The new system, therefore, has completely different statistical characteristics. That's cool. For their research, the team digitalizes the sign sequences on archaeological objects in a database, which they then use to assess statistical properties in the Stone Age sign inventories. Using computer-assisted methods, Benz looked into the potential to express information using the signs and compared this to the potential allowed by early cuneiform sequences and by modern writing. In their analysis, the researchers applied approaches from quantitative linguistics, such as statistical modeling and machine learning classification algorithms. Okay. Because of the high rate of repetitions and the high predictability of the next sign, we were able to show that the entropy, a measure of information density, is comparable to that of proto-cuneiform, which came much later. The human ability to encode information in signs and symbols was developed over many thousands of years. Writing is only one specific form in a long series of sign systems. We continue to develop new systems for encoding information. Encoding is also the basis of computer systems. Large language models, which are currently one of the most visible forms of AI, rely on the fact that language sequences are predictable, meaning the model is able to determine which part of a word is likely to come next. Good evening, Jose. Happy to see you. All right. The study does not reveal what the Stone Age humans were trying to record with the signs, but the findings can help us to narrow down potential interpretations. While the humans of today can access thousands of years of information and knowledge transfer that the humans of then could not, anatomically speaking, Stone Age humans had already reached a similar stage of development as modern humans. This means that they likely had similar cognitive abilities as we do. The ability to record and convey information to others was extremely important for Paleolithic humans. It may have allowed them to coordinate groups or even helped them survive. They were highly skilled craftspeople. You were able to see that they carried the objects with them. A lot of the objects fit right in the palm of your hand. That is another way in which the objects are similar to proto-cuneiform tablets. So this is really cool. Doesn't mean that it is writing, like a lot of people said it was, but it's just really cool. The sign system, and it makes all the sense. Okay, so let's do this one quickly, and then after that, we're just going to end the stream, because I'm getting tired. Study reveals how early humans developed new technologies 400,000 years ago. A sweeping international study of European Stone Age sites is reshaping understanding of how early humans developed new technologies roughly 400,000 years ago. Rather than emerging suddenly, hallmark Middle Paleolithic techniques, including the sophisticated Levallois stone knapping method, appear to have developed gradually during a period of favorable climate and expanding populations. The study, published in Quaternary Science Advances, investigates the technological traditions across Western Europe during marine isotope stage 11, a warm interglacial period between approximately 424,000 and 374,000 years ago. This phase was the decisive transition between the lower and the middle Paleolithic and marked the onset of early Neanderthal traits. Researchers investigated 47 archaeological strata from 42 sites around France, Italy, the Iberian Peninsula, Great Britain, and parts of Central and Eastern Europe. The focus was on lithic, stone tool technology, core reduction techniques such as Levallois flaking, the production of large cutting tools such as bifaces and cleavers, and little retouched implements. To compare assemblages systematically, the authors used the 3-item analysis, the 3IA, which is a procedure more widely studied in evolutionary biology. Each lithic structure was perceived as a single cultural unit. By charting common technological innovations and then organizing them into a hierarchy, researchers pieced together patterns of inheritance and diversification across regions. This strategy enabled them to trace how specific techniques emerged, merged, and evolved over time. The findings describe a structured yet interrelated technology landscape. British sites appear to differ from continental ones, but little evidence exists for strictly regional isolation across Western Europe. I can't speak. I cannot speak. That's why I know I'm getting tired, because I can't speak. In contrast, the data indicates continued contact and exchange between northern and southern populations during MIS 11, facilitated by steadying and moderate climatic conditions allowing for territorial extension. One of the most relevant results is that Levallois technology probably existed before MIS 12, survived the glacial episode and diversified during MIS 11, rather than being a completely new invention of this period. There is also an intensification of complex carving methods, such as centripetal and hierarchical discoid systems, which coexisted with Acheulean traditions, such as a biface production. The results reveal a hierarchical structure among European sites, with a clear division between predominantly British and continental assemblages. Overall, the research questions conventional models that attribute technological transformation to sudden cultural shifts or population replacements. All right. So, these are at least the things that I wanted to speak about. I will throw the rest of these studies in the chat, because if you want to read them for yourself, you can. At least on the chat in YouTube, sorry. For the people watching on other platforms, it's just easier for me, because I can type in YouTube easily and not on the others. So yeah. In case you guys want to look at these things in your own time, this one we actually did. So that's nice. I did most of them. Oh. Yeah, I did most of them. It's fine. It's the last 6. They weren't too big, but still. I was just too tired. It's fine. I had a good time. I had a really good time tonight. I enjoyed some of the articles. I did not enjoy a couple of the other articles, like the Haaretz one. That was really, wanted to rip the hair out of my head. But it's fine. We survived. Like I said, new video coming in a few days. Depending on the sponsor, it's either tomorrow, Saturday, or Sunday. It's fine. It all works. And highly recommend considering joining the Turkey tour and joining me and Pete Kelly from History Time and Dakota from Dakota of Earth in Turkey. It's cool. I really enjoy doing these tours, but I also really enjoy doing these live streams. And like I said, next week, you're going to have 2 live streams. One on Thursday, the regular time, regular day, and one on Friday, regular time, just on a different day. So yeah, I enjoyed this. Thank you for joining me. And everyone that sent super chats and things, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. I never expect anyone to do that, but it's always nice to see it. And yeah, in a few days, I'll be there in the premiere chat and we can just hang out as usual. So, thank you for joining. And yeah, I am going to see you next time. So, have a great day, evening, night, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.